Welcome back to the Justice Factor. South Africa faces major economic challenges: poor growth, unemployment and corruption. President Jacob Zuma on Sunday unveiled a new cabinet and surprised quite a few people by appointing Nhlanhla Nene to the powerful position of finance minister while moving Pravin Gordhan to cooperative governance and traditional affairs. Will these movements lead to a fired-up new economics cluster? My guests to discuss this are economist Xhanti Payi and Owen Nkomo, founder of Nkunzemnyama Investments. Guys, welcome to the show. Congratulations on your red ties. Is this a move to the right on the part of business? Can I first ask you, I mean, the GDP numbers have not looked great in South Africa. Unemployment numbers ticked up to over 25% in the first quarter. We are waiting the GDP number for first quarter. With the strikes that we've seen, give me a number for what you think that first quarter growth is going to be.
Very low, not much further than, maybe just a bit over zero even.
Really?
Many people are saying contraction, but it really hasn't looked good. So it's not going to be a great number, and for the reasons exactly as you count them.
So, Owen Nkomo, here's a president who comes into power, selects a cabinet with virtually zero growth in his first quarter, a 18-week strike on his hands. Are the people that he's put into this economic cluster the right people for the job? Can they help us through these problems?
Yeah, I mean, look, Nene himself, right, is a guy who has been groomed within the treasury. So, and it's also a well-oiled machine. You know, it's been constructed. It works very well. The DG is somebody who's got lots of experience and also groomed within. And you know, they've got policy people. So that's a well-oiled machine that works in itself. He doesn't have to shift much more than rather to actually keep the traditions of the treasury and make sure that it continues to work. So there isn't much more. But you know, there's other clusters who are, there's other guys who are coming in the development class. So you have economic development. You've got the new business, small business franchises that's going on. And these guys are going to start scrambling amongst each other. And this is the problem, I think, in a sense. How do you coordinate them to work properly so that this thing is smoother than just everybody trying to get some power or move to the direction they feel?
Owen Nkomo, what's your sense of the appointment of Nhlanhla Nene?
No, look, I mean, I think for me it's actually a positive appointment. If there was a move that had to be done about Mr. Gordhan, wherever he had to go, I believe that the replacement that was done is actually a fitting replacement. He's been in the department for since 2008, 7 odd years. So I believe, in my view, that that's the appropriate replacement. It means all the strategies that have been set up in the ministry are just going to continue on from where Mr. Gordhan left. And my take is that he has done a brilliant job, with very limited tax income. In my view, we could have collected more tax. We could have been collecting more tax than we're collecting now, but he has done his best given the resources he's had. And also, let's also remember as a country that we're in a period where we're seeing global contraction, etc. I always come back and I say, it's one thing for us to take out, platinum from the Northwest, but where are we going to sell it to if China is not aggressively consuming? So let us be aware of that.
Now, Nhlanhla Nene does face several problems. One of them is the fact that his colleagues, for example, Pravin Gordhan and Nhlanhla Nene last year said, guys, let's stop with the credit cards, let's stop with the cars and so forth. Many of them went on, whether it was Thandi Modise and the 1.3 million rand BMW, whether it's some of the other ministers who've gone on to do, whatever they want to do with the money for your money, the taxpayers' money. He isn't politically powerful. Is this a factor? Will this stop him? I'm very well aware of that. Pravin Gordhan wasn't even a member of parliament when he became finance minister.
So you see, my take on that, Justice, is that you've asked the questions, are these the individuals to take us to the next level or to see us do a 10? I believe that's probably maybe the wrong question to ask, is do we have enough commitment from parliament and from the ruling party to implement all of these things that we've been talking about?
And do we?
I don't know. We'll live to see that, Because, for example, should the platinum strike still be going on at the moment? We were told when the president came in that umuntu wabantu, he knows how to connect with people. And I believe that, he probably by now should have gone to Marikana and had a conversation and said, guys, we need to get back to work. Let's work this out. But this strike has gone on for so long, and I believe there's a disconnect here between the government and exactly what's going on the ground in the mines, which talks back to the GDP growth we're talking about, which talks back to the 6 million jobs that we're trying to create. How are we going to do that if we can't
do you
implement?
agree with that? He's saying there doesn't seem to be commitment on the part of the ruling party and therefore the government to.
Sure. I mean, you mentioned something
problems.
important at the beginning about implementation and monitoring. One of the things that the president did when he came in, he said, "I want to make sure that that I monitor performance and everybody's going to sign a contract." We haven't really seen these contracts in terms of how they work and whether actually there's been some whippings for those guys who actually were not performing or the people who are getting promoted were performing.
President Zuma, to his credit, fired more people in his term this past term. I think he had 4 cabinet reshuffles than more than Thabo Mbeki, more than
and then there's some resurfacing. I mean, the former police commissioner has come back having fired, but also there needs a proper balance of forces. I mean, the being left and the right. And somebody said, in order for you to actually be successful, you need to hold the instrument of state with the left and play it with the right, and allow the right to play it. And these are the things that he needs to make sure that actually happen, that both parts participate. This is what we sing exactly in the mining strike, that we are not playing this right.
I would say to you, I mean, I asked the guys who were here before you about the SACP. I see Tito Mboweni alleging that he was blocked by the SACP from becoming the finance minister. All kinds of talk around that. Senzeni Zokwana, who is the chair of the SACP, is now the Minister of Agriculture. A very fine young man, the young man from the Young Communist League is now the deputy minister in the presidency. It sounds to me like the left is on the rise, whereas the right is sort of all over the place.
Well, I mean, I think that's a development we have to watch very closely. Again, it's difficult. A lot of people have been saying we have to elect a business-friendly cabinet. We need a more nuanced discussion than that, because this country has seen phenomenal growth since 1994. There's no doubt about that. But, unemployment is still very low. Clearly, we're not doing something right about how we actually distribute that growth and make sure that people are doing right. So in some sense, we want, the leftists, but obviously make sure that the rights have a strong voice in that cabinet. It's difficult, obviously, to tell who's more left than right.
Owen Nkomo, small business, Lindiwe Zulu, a very capable minister, very energetic, comes in there. Is this a good thing? Are we creating a new bureaucracy, or are we saying we take this small business seriously?
Justice, I say it again. And I wish that the government, the party, the leadership would understand that planning things and hiring people and setting up strategies is nothing without implementation. I do believe that, for example, given a deputy president and his experience in business, for example, I do believe it would be a shame if he doesn't get given, the opportunity to actively participate in implementing the NDP, and hopefully, as most people in business are expecting, that he should take over after Msholozi leaves. I believe it would be a travesty of justice, as it were. Look at it this way. Today there's an announcement that came through that he's stepping out of the Shanduga fold, and he's going to merge that business, or rather the trustees of his stake are going to merge that business with Pembani, which is a business with diversified assets, coal assets, etc., which was run by Putuma Ntlego. So you can see that these makings, and he's committing himself to participate more in government strategy and implementing things. And I'm hoping he will get given a chance to do that. It's all about implementation, Justice. That's my view.
Does he have that?
She is clearly quite a capable leader. She's shown herself. But for me, it's always about less government than more, but more effective kind of government.
We've gone from 34 to 35 ministers.
This bloated kind of government, because if you think about it, we have in the Treasury, we do have interventions for small business. We have them in the Department of Trade and Industry. We have them in economic development. So all these are all interventions, except clearly somebody is not doing what they're supposed to do at the back. Perhaps she's coming in to crack the whip. It'll be difficult to see, but I think we need less than more. And I think these guys are going to start scrambling around now, instead of, unless somebody has written some way on how they actually communicate together properly to make sure that thing is much smoother and the coordination works so that actually we see better outcomes. But more government, usually a problem.
Justice, on my end, the one thing that really struck me is, yes, we keep having these reshuffles, but do we get told what this minister achieved last time they were in the previous ministry? What did he achieve? What are his goals now? It's like, oh, we're excited about the reshuffle. So, okay, great, it's happened. Now what? So why did Mr. Kikawa get moved from the DPE? He's back at Home Affairs. What's the idea there? And then I heard from the last commentators that, there's this personal stuff and blah, blah, blah. All of that seems to be the stuff that's hitting the media more. That is not necessarily about individuals' capabilities or understanding of their ministries, but it's more like, okay, asifake lona there, let's put this one there, and you know, let's just move on. But I have a problem with that.
Okay, we're running out of time. Xhanti, I'm going to give you the chance to give us your final thoughts on this cabinet. Tell us what it needs to do to give us a result in 5 years where we look back and say, as Owen says, and we say, wow, amazing.
Pravin Gordhan is an excellent choice where he's been put. He's a guy who's actually going to be able to get the skill set. I mean, he has understood exactly what the problems are in local government. He's seen the leakages in terms of his budget through local government, and he's a guy now who can crack the whip to make sure that actually it works, because that's where we need to start with these small infrastructure projects that help smaller groupings of people become economic agents, because that's not what we're doing. Yeah. And hopefully we can then reform the education sector. If we don't get that right in the next 5 years, we are dead in the water. There's no doubt about that.
Xhanti Payi, on that positive note, we'll leave it. Owen, Nkomo, guys, thanks so much for coming through.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
After the break, our winner and loser of the week.
News that moves. enca.com.